All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started just so I can be mindful of everybody's time and make sure that we start and stop. So my name is Paul Lewis. I'm the Director of Job Assistance with the People's Resource Center. Glad you're taking the time to listen to this recording tonight or attend the live session. So just a couple quick guidelines before we get started. If you go to View Options and go down to the side-by-side mode, that switches your computer screen so you can see me on one side, as well as the content that I'm speaking about on the other side. Everything that we do talk about tonight is confidential. I am recording this presentation, but if we do a question and answer session, I can cut that out at the recording that we post online. So we are recording this, and really we want to thank Megan and the Wooddale Public Library for hosting us tonight. If you're unfamiliar with the People's Resource Center, we're a social services agency that's located in DuPage County. We have a office at both our Wheaton and Westmont locations. We do have a food pantry that is a curbside pickup model currently. They have different times throughout the week, some in the mornings and some in the evenings to accommodate everybody's schedule. You just pull your car up and they bring out a grocery cart full of food, put it in your back seat or your trunk, and then you're on your way. So it's no contact, no pickup. We are in the process of actually reopening to people to actually come in and pick up their own food. So we're hoping to do that sometime in early 2022. Same with all of our empowerment programs. So we offer an adult learning and literacy, a computer training and access program, and then a job assistance, which I'll talk about a little bit here. Currently, all of those programs are running virtually, but are slowly looking for opportunities to bring back in-person programming throughout the next couple months. So we're really excited to be able to see people's faces in person again, sort of similar to this presentation. We used to do all of these in person as well. So we're always looking for opportunities to meet with people in person. If you're unfamiliar with the Job Assistance Program, we offer a variety of different job services to PRC clients. Sort of our bread and butter is our one-to-one job coaching and individualized mentoring. So each client is matched with a PRC job coach. It's individualized mentoring. So what that means is that the client dictates what PRC helps them with. So if you just need help with learning how to apply for jobs on the internet, we can help you apply for jobs or find what jobs might be a good fit for your skill set. We can work with you on interviewing techniques, help you identify your skills and accomplishments, which is what we're going to be talking a little bit about tonight. We also have a team that can help you with resumes and cover letters. So if you need to update your resume or get a new resume, we have a team that can help you out with that. We also have a PRC job board. So I connect with different employers throughout DuPage County. They send me their open positions, which I post on the job board. So it's something that's continuously updated, has jobs throughout DuPage County for all different types of industries and skill levels, anywhere from entry-level jobs to management jobs to just posted, I think last week, a job for a founding director for a nonprofit. So it's all different sorts of jobs out there. And this is, of course, the job board is free to access to anybody that's a PRC client. So today we're going to be talking about identifying your skills and accomplishments. So this is a good workshop to listen to when you've made the decision to look for a job and start a new job or look for a new career, and you're really just trying to get an understanding of what jobs you might be a good fit for and how to sell your skills and accomplishments to those potential employers. So today's goal is to help you put your best foot forward and present yourself in the best possible light. We want you to be able to tell your story. So what got you to where you are in life, and how you can help that employer fill the needs in their job. And we also want you to leave with confidence that you're going to be able to properly be able to speak about your skills and accomplishments. We know it's not easy to talk about yourself, but that's kind of all interviews are. So hopefully this will be a way to help you kind of understand what things you're good at and how to speak about those skills and accomplishments. So understanding your accomplishments, you start a lot, see a lot of times you start with information gathering. So you really want to look back and see what are some of the things that you're really good at. What are your skills and experiences? What are your volunteer opportunities? You want to prepare your story. We're going to talk about the me in 30 seconds. That speech is something that every employer asks on job interviews is tell me about yourself. We're going to show you how to answer that question. We're going to talk about matching your skills and experiences to potential jobs to make sure that you're applying for jobs that you're going to be a good fit for. And then finally, putting it all together and how to succeed in the job interview. So the action stage. So here are some examples of goals for your daily and weekly action plan. So this is just something that as you're kind of putting together your job search plan, you're going to want to put together an action plan of certain things that you want to do on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So information gathering is probably the most critical part of preparing for your job search, because as you can see, it sets the stage for several important activities. It's your chance to gather all the personal information, accomplishments, skills, and recognition that uniquely defines you. Don't forget about the volunteer work, affiliations, church, or professional organizations that you're a part of. And I think that's something that a lot of people forget is you might be showcasing the skills and experience you have in your job that you get paid for, but if you're doing lots of volunteering and other things, those are definitely skills and accomplishments you're gaining outside of just your normal job that you want to make sure that you showcase. If information gathering is done well and comprehensively upfront, it will save you a lot of time later. In written form, it becomes the fuel for your resume, your applications, cover letter, and thank you notes. Verbally, it fuels job search activities like attending job fairs and networking. In interviews, it builds sharpness and confidence and leads to succinct, positive answers to interview questions like, tell me about yourself, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and what are your qualifications for this position? So if you have all this information and you practice, giving your elevator speech, it's going to come across, really smoothly when you're answering those questions, because it's something that you have a lot of experience in. The first thing you're going to do with this information is collect all the details and facts about you. You're going to fill out a job application, and it's basically, when you're filling out a job application, it's always just it's a good idea to just do something by hand, so you have all that information in front of you. So when you're, filling out, multiple job applications on different websites, you don't have to keep gathering all that information all over again, like your references, the dates of your employment for current jobs, the addresses, things like that. It's good to just fill out one application, have that in front of you, so you have all of that information. A job application is a form that contains basic information which an employer will use to learn more about you and retain for company records. It is a legal document since you're required to sign it, verifying that all the information is correct. Don't take the chance. Falsifying information may result in the offer being pulled. Although most job applications will be filled out and submitted online, especially nowadays, we recommend using a paper copy on the form to first gather all the necessary information you'll need. You want to avoid discovering during the middle of an online application that you don't have all the information that you are required. And most job applications will divide it by sections, so you'll kind of know what information you'll need before you actually fill out the job application. And especially most of them, especially the companies that use the applicant tracking system, you'll actually be able to go in, and if you are filling out an application and you realize that you don't have all the information, most of them will give you the opportunity to save that application and you can access it later. Unfortunately with that is you do have to create a username and password so you can go back in, which can be kind of annoying, especially if you're creating, if every job that you're applying for, you're creating, a new username and password. It might be hard to remember. So that's also something that you're going to want to keep track of, so you know when you can access those different applications and check on its status. Just as a quick reminder, Illinois companies will no longer be able to ask job applicants what their previous employer's salary history is. So that's a new law that passed in 2019. So an employer can never ask what your salary is. When we talk about references, this is always something good to have on file. Make sure when you are asking people for references, make sure that they know that someone might be calling them. And it's a funny story, I actually had somebody today. I had a person that I used to manage at my previous organization. They had a company call me, and this person had put me down as a reference, but that person had never told me. So I was a little shocked, and I think that came across in my answers because I wasn't expecting that call. So it's a good rule of thumb. Anybody that you choose to be a reference for you, make sure that you let them know beforehand. And it's also good to let them know what jobs you're applying for so they can speak to your skills and experience as it relates to that job that you're applying for. So I did want to touch base real quick. If you haven't, if you're not familiar with ONET Online, it's a really great, it's a government website, but this is a really great website to explore if you've never been on it. It kind of goes through all that you need for the job search process. It will help you, like if you go on and you navigate, you'll be able to find different information on what jobs are in high demand, what skills and experience you'll need to be successful in that role. And then also, if you have any deficiencies in skills, you can also, it'll give you, access to, where you can, get credentials, or what degree you might need, or what certification you might need in order to be a good candidate for that job. So I don't really touch base on this website too much on this workshop, but ONET Online is a really great website if you haven't had a chance to look into it. So, and I'll actually, Megan, I have a couple of things that I'll send to you at the end of this presentation that you can send along to the people that attended, and I'll make sure to include the website for ONET Online. So, so filling out a job application is generally the easy part. While most people struggle in telling their story, their accomplishments, skills, and recognition, most people naturally have a hard time tooting their own horn. So we always know it's really hard to talk about yourself. But if you don't do it, who will? I mean, that's how you get the job, right? You have to be able to sell your skills and experience to an employer. And we're not talking about bragging or boasting. We're just really talking about showcasing the value that you can bring to the organization. So we're going to use, we're actually the bulk of this presentation, we're going to talk about 3 different tools that can help you tell your story. We're going to talk about power statements, SAR statements, which stands for situation, action, and result. And then of course the me in 30 seconds, or the elevator pitch, which is that question that when they ask you, tell me about yourself, the first question in the interview, we're going to tell you how to effectively answer that. So now we're going to first talk a little bit about power statements. So a power statement is designed to communicate important information about you in a short amount of time. The power statement emphasizes the value that you can bring to an organization. Highlight a strength you have and show how you have used that strength to achieve results. So use the following steps to develop your power statement. So you're going to identify a value, skill, strength, or accomplishment that you want to highlight that relates to your employment objective. You want to give a specific example of that skill. You want to show the result of your skill. So if possible, you want to, if you have like data, a certification, percentages, dollar amounts, anything that's tangible that an employer can see as to how you've used that skill to achieve a goal. Make sure your statement is consistent with the needs and goals of the organization. So you never want to, if you're applying for a job, you never want to give an example of something that you did really well that's not related to the job position that you're applying for. Power statements highlight key accomplishments and have dramatic impact. As you develop power statements about yourself, think about them as statements of fact. If you write good power statements and practice them until you feel at ease in saying them, your tone will sound informative, not boastful. And that's what you want to come across as. You don't want to sound like you're bragging about something that you've done, but you just want to sound, you want to be confident, but you want to state these very matter-of-factly, like this is what I've done, these are the skills and accomplishments that I possess, and this is how I can help your organization. How you answer this question says a lot about you and an extremely important hurdle to get over the interview. So don't be nervous, be brief, honest, positive, and thoughtful with your response. When you're answering these types of questions, and I can be very long-winded, especially when I was interviewing, I always want to try to make sure that my answers were anywhere between 30 seconds to 1 minute. And anything over 1 minute, you're not getting straight to the point, and you might be rambling a little bit. So when you're practicing answering these questions, you should time yourself. If you have a timer, that's a good way to know whether or not you have too much in the answer that you're trying to give. So you want to take accountability. You don't want to hold grudges. Look forward with positivity, not back with regret and bitterness. So you always want to avoid talking bad about a previous employer or a previous company. You always want to be very optimistic. So so a couple of these examples I think are really good. So these are power statements in the sense that it's good. You want to make sure that you stand apart from other people that are applying for this position. So, and this is something that you might always see on a resume. People are saying, I am proficient in Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word. Well, proficient doesn't mean you're certified. So if you can get that certification, That's a great way to stand out from the pack. So you can put on your say, I'm proficient in Microsoft and Excel because I received my Microsoft Office certification through PRC. And that's something that I do like to say is PRC does offer a Microsoft Office certification course that's free to PRC clients. Instead of saying a blanket statement of I've been told I'm a team player, you can say something along the lines of my team of 6 received the President's Top Department Performance Award in 2019. That's one way to, almost, through that award say, hey, we were a good team player and we stood out above the rest of the pack because we received this award. So power statements sound an awful lot like an accomplishment statement that goes on your resume, right? So the resume is just one of the ways that you'll use this information gathering and self-assessment that we're doing now. And one thing this is also something that you can put in your cover letter as well. It's really hard to put a lot of power statements in your resume, and you might need to elaborate more when you're putting together your cover letter. There's one watch out for resume writing that I want to highlight before we move on. Take care not to just list the duties of your previous jobs. You want to turn those accomplishment statements, and here's an example. So avoid using the job duty, worked in a call center and answered phones. You want to turn a simple statement like that into an accomplishment. So instead of saying that, worked in a call center and answered phones, you might say something like, quickly responded to customer needs by answering 99% of incoming calls before 3 rings, or created a new program in the call center which reduced drop calls by 25%. That sounds a lot better than just saying simply worked in a call center and answer phones. So here are just a couple of different, and we actually have a sheet which I'll send out too. It's like a little template that you can kind of fill in on your own with the different accomplishments that you feel that you have and what skills or traits were needed to accomplish those. So let's try another power statement. I reorganized the way office supplies are purchased by the company, combining individual department purchases into a single organization-wide order, saving time and reducing expenditures by 10%. What skills or traits helped accomplish this? And you can reference a list of skills and traits on the next page. So that shows that you're efficient, resourceful, organized, attentive, reliable. These are all things that you can help identify once you figure out what your specific skill or accomplishment is. And this is the template that I'll send to everybody. When we do these workshops live, we actually take a few moments and we all kind of do this together. It's just really hard to do that over Zoom. So now we're going to turn your power statement. We're going to kind of switch gears and we're going to talk about the situation, action, and results. So that's when people hear the term SARS, that's kind of what we're discussing. So the SARS approach, it describes a business-related situation and how the actions you undertook led to a positive, quantifiable results. So this method, so if you hear SARS, there's some, I think, people that call it the STAR method. So STARS stands for situation, task, action, and result, or SARS, situation, action, result. It's all the same thing. It's a good idea to take copies of awards, certificates, reports, or recognition into an interview with you. So if you did win like something like Employee of the Month, or can we talked about it at previous slide, if you were a part of a team that received an award for a project, if you have a copy of that, that's always something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. So if you're answering that question, you can say, hey, by the way, this is, my performance led to this award, and you can have a copy of that you can hand out. So here's a couple examples of some STAR statements. So I'll go ahead and just read a few of these. So there was a disagreement I had with a coworker, which originated from a miscommunication. To keep our work environment professional and positive, we had to discuss it and make amends. I sat him down with him one day during lunch, paid for our meal, and apologized for my part in the whole ordeal. Now we work well together and are often praised for our impressive teamwork. So that's a really simple SAR statement that identified the situations. That was the disagreement. And then what action you took. You sat that employee down, you bought them coffee, and you talked about what happened, and you came to an agreement. And because of that agreement, you guys now work really together as a team. And it only takes, really 4 or 5 sentences to talk through how you solve that issue. So this is another thing that you want to, once you identify the 2 or 3 different SAR statements that you want to have prepped for your interview. Again, you just want to make sure that you're not going overly in detail, because a lot of times employers don't need the nitty-gritty details. They just want to know simply what the situation was, what action you took, and what resulted from that. And that can be done, again, in around 30 seconds. And so this is another handout I'll give. So this is something that you can use to create your own SAR statements as you're preparing for your job search. So now we're going to get to me in 30 seconds. So this is the obligatory tell me about yourself question that all the employers ask you in your first round of interviews. It's one of the most frequently asked interview questions, and your response to this request can set the tone for the rest of the interview. So you need to be prepared for a brief statement called me in 30 seconds, or an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is a brief, persuasive speech that you use to spark interest in what you do. A good elevator pitch should last no longer than a short elevator ride of 20 to 30 seconds. So the idea behind the term elevator pitch is if you were to get on an elevator and you were meeting with somebody that you could really showcase your skills, accomplishments, and talents in just the 30-second elevator rides that it took to be with that person. So first, you want to tailor your message to the interviewer. You don't focus on what's best for you. You want to focus on what you're going to do to fulfill the needs of the company you're interviewing with. So you never want to talk about, me in 30 seconds. You're not going to talk about your favorite vacation spot or what your favorite food is or what are your hobbies or interests. You really want to tailor that 30-second speech to, what your skills, experiences, what that can do for the company if you were hired in that particular role. So you want to talk about your strengths and abilities. And talk about your current situation. So you might even say, something in lines of why you're potentially looking for a new job, because that's something that I feel like in the back of lots of employers' minds. Whenever we're interviewing something, especially somebody that has a job, we're always wondering why they're thinking about switching jobs. So that's something. If you have like a brief sentence as to why you're looking for a new role, that might be something good to put in that 30-second speech. So these are just a couple different examples of some good 30-second elevator pitches. I'll just go ahead and read one. I'm a highly skilled professional nanny with experience raising premature infants to teenagers, including special needs children. I'm currently searching for the next opportunity to bring my enthusiasm, organization, work ethic, and dependability to the job of helping you raise your children. I thrive in a collaborative family environment where I can make myself indispensable to you as parents and grow alongside your household. So that sort of includes all of those power statements and all the things that we kind of talked about earlier, all into one quick, clean, and this one you could probably even get through it in 15 or 20 seconds. If this is something that you struggle with, if you're not really good at identifying skills and accomplishments and putting together a 30-second elevator pitch like this, I want to shamelessly promote if you're not a part of PRC. Our job coaches, we do a lot of training with our job coaches, and this is something that we train them on. So our job coaches are actually really, really good with working with clients and just kind of starting from the ground up and helping them create these 30-second elevator pitches, and then working with you to practice delivering those as well. So matching skills and accomplishments to job requirements. This is another really important thing when you're beginning your job search. In order to not waste time, we want you to be able to make sure that you're identifying jobs that are going to be a good match for your skill set. A lot of times people apply for jobs that they're not qualified for, and that's a waste of the employer's time, and that's a waste of your time. I'm sure if you've applied for jobs before, that it takes a long time to apply for a job anywhere, especially if you're using those applicant tracking systems. You have to input all of that information, and you just don't have to send them a resume and cover letter. Sometimes jobs can take 30 to 45 minutes to apply for. So we want to make sure that we're applying for jobs that we're going to be a good fit. So knowing the answers to the first 2 points is essential before applying for a job. If the position is not a good fit for you, save yourself some time by finding another match-worthy position. The third point is most important when moving forward with your job application. By matching your skills to the job requirements, you will have a better understanding of why you're a good fit for the job and can customize your resume to land an interview. Also, you have an easier time communicating your fit with the prospective employers in a job interview. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you can match your skills and accomplishments to the duties in the job description. And there's actually, and I'm actually going to, Megan, I'm going to send this along as well. There's a lot of really great websites that you can use. There's one called TagCrowd, which they don't talk about this on the workshop, but I do kind of want to talk about it because I think it's a really great website. And what you can do to see if you're a good fit for the position. So TagCrowd has on one side, you're going to copy and paste your resume. And then on the other side, you actually copy and paste the job description of the job that you're interested in applying in. And what TagCrowd does is it takes your resume and the job description, and it'll highlight keywords that are in the job description. And it will let you know if you have those keywords or phrases in your resume that would match up with you being a good fit for the job description. So it's a really great way, and it's really easy it's really easy instead of you having to kind of comb through the job description in your resume. This is an easy visual way to see if you have all the qualifications, skills, and experience that would potentially make you a good fit for the job. And what this also does, if you look at the job description, but your resume doesn't highlight all the specific qualifications that post is looking for, then you can go back in and potentially tailor your resume and cover letter if you do feel that you possess those skills. So when an employer invites you for an interview, you've already decided you possess the basic skills, knowledge, and experience necessary for the job. So if your employer is calling you in for a phone screen or you're getting a first round interview, you already know that they've looked in your resume and cover letter, and they think that you have the basic qualifications where you might be a good fit. So this is where you really need to sell. So to narrow down a pool of equally qualified applicants, many interviewers ask a question such as, why should I hire you? Or what would you bring to the job? Now here's your chance to establish yourself as an asset versus an expense. Your answer should focus on the most important qualifications for the role and the qualities that distinguish you from even the most talented and knowledgeable candidates. Beware of using words that do nothing to separate you from everyone else. Words like qualified, everyone else would be considered qualified, or they wouldn't have been invited to the job interview. So choose qualities you know will be distinguish you from the competition, but use strong, supercharged power words that pack a punch. So this slide is just to kind of give you an example of what types of words that you can use that are not commonly found on resumes that might be more buzzworthy or show strength. So, instead of saying I'm a hard worker, you can say, I go the extra mile, I'm resourceful. Instead of, I'm somebody that shows up to work, you might say, I'm somebody that's tenured, I'm persistent. I might say that, you could say I'm qualified for the job, but these certain degrees or accreditations or certifications that I have show that I'm qualified for the job. You could say, I'm educated, I have my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. But if you have any sort of prestigious awards, so if you were on like the dean's list, or you received any specific certifications, those are some things that you want to make sure that you highlight to help you stand out from the pack. So first, I want to remind you that you're not powerless in an interview. Every interviewer wants you to make it easy for them, and sometimes you have to spell it out. Tell them why you're different, better, and safer to hire. You have control over your answers and your interview goals and agendas. So go into an interview with the goal of communicating a minimum of 3 things that can make you uniquely qualified for the job. When asked, tell me about yourself, introduce them as part of your elevator pitch. Then use them as you answer questions during the interview. Finally, and probably most importantly, don't forget to use them in a strong closing statement. It's perfectly okay when you're, when the interview is almost done, to almost go into your elevator pitch again and remind the interviewers why you're qualified for the position. And it's also perfectly okay to make it known that you want the job. Sometimes, after going through an interview, it can be hard for an employer to say, hey, I didn't get a sense of whether or not this person actually felt after the interview they might be a good fit for this position. It's perfectly okay to go into an interview and halfway through the interview, maybe realize that this job might not be a good fit for your skills. And that's perfectly okay. But if you go through the entire interview and you realize that, hey, I like what I'm hearing, I think I'm going to be a good fit for this job, it's perfectly okay at the end of the interview to tell the employer that and say, hey, I really enjoyed our conversation. I really enjoyed hearing about the company and the position. I feel, my skills would be a good fit. I would be really excited about this opportunity. It's okay to say that. So by now it should be clear how important it is to gather all your personal information, accomplishments, skills, and recognition up front. So get it all down on paper once, and you'll save yourself a lot of time down the road by reusing it in a variety of jobs search activities. So you now have a bit of homework to do while you're waiting to be assigned a job coach, if you become a PRC client, which I'd highly recommend. Put some time into this information gathering and self-assessment, and you'll be all the way more prepared to meet with your coach or help you with your job search. So just a couple quick points. If and when, I should say, when you get the job interview, always make sure to, this goes without saying, be on time to the job interview. Especially if you're living in the city or your interview is during rush hour. Always make sure to leave a little bit early and make sure that you know where you're going. You might get to a place early, but if it's in a hard to find location, it might be a good idea to practice going there the day before, so you know exactly where you're going and you know how long it's going to take for you to get there. I'd say those are the most common reasons why people are late to interviews. It's just they didn't prepare ahead of time and they got caught in traffic, or they couldn't find the suite number, or they got turned around. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you do your research on the company beforehand. It's always good to know who the CEO is. A lot of times you can just check on the website. They'll usually have a mission statement, or there'll be an about us section, so you can kind of learn a little bit about the company. And sometimes it's a good idea to kind of go in. Some of them have you can see the names of the different staff and the different positions available. Those are good things to kind of come prepared with. So you kind of are able to, if somebody says, well, what do you know about this company? It's very impressive if you're able to tout out a lot of things that you read on their website. Be positive and confident, which is why it's important to practice those elevator pitches in the mirror. Make sure that you're ready with multiple different SAR statements. So you have something for whatever situation they might bring up with, or whatever question they might bring up with. Make sure that you practice speaking clearly, making sure that we talked about this, making sure that your answers are between 30 seconds and 1 minute and not going anything over that. And be respectful of your contact's time. Make sure that another big thing, it's not on here, always make sure that you have questions at the end. It's always a little discouraging when I was interviewing people. We went through an hour interview or an hour and a half interview. And I asked them if they had any questions for me. And they said, no, you've answered everything. I always find that hard to believe. I really do think that it's best practice to come prepared for 2 or 3 questions that you can ask the interviewers. And even something, if you're not sure what types of questions to ask, it's really good to ask about the culture of the organization. What's it like to work there? What's the work-life balance look like? Another question could be something like, what's your 1-year vision, or what's the company's 5-year vision? You try to get a sense of what working at the company is like, and kind of see where that company is going. So those are just 3 really basic questions that you can ask. So I wanted to pause real quick just to remind you about the PRC Job Assistance Program. If you're not already a PRC client, but you're interested in learning more about PRC and potentially becoming a jobs client, quickest way to apply is to just call the 630-682-5402 extension 333. What it does, it connects you directly to a voicemail. All you need to do is you'll just leave your name and your number and just say, I'm interested in becoming a PRC jobs client. I have an administrative assistant that she checks the phone lines once or twice a day. And then she'll give you a call back, and she'll do a quick intake with you, and she'll register you for our next orientation. We do our orientations twice per month on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That's all done virtual, so nothing is in person quite yet. But we will be going back to in-person orientations in January. So, but everything right now is done virtually. So even like consultations or meeting with job coaches, everything can be done over Zoom or over the telephone. or if you get a job coach that's willing to meet with you at a library. So if you wanted to meet at Wooddale Public Library, we are allowing our job coaches to meet with their clients at library locations. So your job coach can help you fill out job applications. They can walk you through interview techniques. They can just help you with your overall job search strategy, your overall readiness. So make sure that you're prepared to answer those common interview questions. If you don't have a resume, or your resume needs to be updated, we have an entire team that can do that for you. They can even help you come up with an outline for a cover letter, which is really helpful for a lot of people, because cover letters tend to go unnoticed, but it's also, I think, something that a lot of employers look at, because they want to make sure that the cover letter is tailored towards that specific job. And then, sometimes people just send resumes and apply for different jobs, but if their cover letter isn't, directly, addressing that particular job, that's a good way for your resume to go unnoticed. So cover letters, I think, are really important. If you want to learn more about what we offer at the People's Resource Center, you can just go to www.peoplesrc.org. Top left-hand corner under services, you'll see all the different services that we offer. If you go to Job Assistance, it'll give you more information about our jobs program. If you prefer to fill out a quick intake form, if you're not somebody that wants to call that number, there is a Google form. So right there, right below the number, you'll see a click here. It'll take you to a Google intake form. I think there's about 5 questions that you'll fill out just about your general interest in becoming a jobs client. Once you click send, that goes directly to our administrative team, and they'll give you a call back and set you up for the orientation. So we make sure there's 2 easy ways to become a job assistant client. Yeah, just wanted to kind of see final thoughts if anybody had any questions. I will go ahead and we have a lot of different a lot of tools and websites that I'll send an email that you can use as well, that we usually go over when we do this workshop in person.
Hi, I want to talk more about the identifying skills and accomplishments, and you
Sure.
mentioned already how hard